Hey guys, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today I'm here to do part 2 of my November book haul. Now I have, oh gosh, I think it's over 15 books here, so I'm gonna try and speed through them, but I really wanted to start with the books that I received from publishers. I'm so lucky that I received some amazing books, and yeah, I want to share them with you. So let's get into it. So the first two books that I received were from Simon & Schuster, Canada, and the first is Unraveling Oliver. And this is about a marriage that's not a very good marriage. Oliver, it seems, is not the perfect husband. He, one night after dinner, savagely assaults his wife, Alice, and she's in a coma. They don't know whether she's gonna live or die. This book delves into what really happened and why he did what he did and where this rage has stemmed from for him. And this is by Liz Nugent, and it is coming out in February of 2018, and I'm very excited about this one. The next book that I was sent by Simon & Schuster is The Unforgotten by Laura Powell. Now this is also coming out in February, and this looks wonderful. It's got a little blurb on the front from Chris Cleave, who wrote Little Bee and also Everyone Brave is Forgiven. And this is set in 1956, and we follow a 15-year-old girl in her little small town of St. Steel. And there is a series of gruesome murders happening to young women in St. Steel, and it's really changing the town and causing an uproar in the town, and also sending journalists from afar to this little town. And one of them is Mr. Gallagher, and they strike up this friendship, and also it kind of lands them in amongst these string of murders. It just sounds awesome. The next book I got, I'm so excited. I was sent this from Bloomsbury, UK. This is The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell, and I think this is only coming out in the US and Canada. I think it's March of 2018, but it came out in the UK first, and I knew that I wanted a UK edition because of this cover. I mean, I love that there's this little cutout of a key and then a portrait in the background, so the key kind of lands on this eye, and it's just creepy. And the whole storyline of this is very creepy. It's about a young woman who is very early in her life. She's widowed and she's also pregnant, so she moves into her husband's home, and none of the servants or people really seem to like her. They're kind of standoffish about her, and she discovers this little room that's locked, and she's able to get into it. And in this room she finds a very old diary, and she also finds this little wooden figure, and when she shows the little wooden figure to people around the town, they freak out about it. She thinks that they're just being ridiculous, but then she sees this figure and she sees that its eyes are watching her. It's so creepy. I mean, just the thought of all of that is so creepy. And yeah, I'm desperate to read this one. I think I'm going to be reading this one soon. Isn't this the most perfect winter read? I love a good mystery kind of book in the winter. The next two are from Penguin Random House Canada, and I'm so eager for both of these. The first one I've got is Bonfire by Kristen Ritter. Now, if you don't know who Kristen Ritter is, she's actually a famous actress. She was on Breaking Bad. I loved her as Jesse's girlfriend, who Walter White did not like very much at all. She's also on Jessica Jones, and I just really like her as a person, and I had no idea that she was also a writer. This follows a young woman who is an environmental lawyer. She goes back to her old hometown and starts to investigate, I think it's called Optimal Plastics. It's this company in her old hometown, and she finds a link between that company and the death of a girl she went to high school with. And so somehow those scandals are linked together, and I'm super eager. I'm excited that she wrote a fiction book, so I'm eager to tuck into this. And finally, from Penguin Random House Canada, I got Artemis by Andy Weir. I loved The Martian. I loved The Martian so much. It made me laugh out loud. I really started to enjoy science fiction after reading The Martian, so I have very high hopes for Artemis. Now, this is very different from The Martian. It takes place on the moon, I believe, and it's a heist story. So I don't know too much more about it than that. I'm not usually into heist stories, but I'm totally into space travel, and I'm so excited to read this. The next three are books that I won on Goodreads giveaways. This doesn't happen very often, and when it does, it makes me very happy. The first one is City of Spies by Soraya Khan, and this one takes place in the 1970s. And she is 11 years old, Aliyah Shah, and she lives this double life in Islamabad, Pakistan. She has a Pakistani father and a Dutch mother, and she goes to this American school. One day, the son of her family servant, he is killed by a hit-and-run driver, and it kind of throws her world into upheaval. And it does sound really interesting, so I'm happy that I got that one. I also received The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin. This has been talked about a lot over at Russell's channel at Ink and Paper Blog, and I am so happy that I got this. This is about a family who learn when their deaths are going to be. So the children in this family find out when they're going to die, and this news kind of changes the trajectory of their lives and what they do with their lives to try to escape this fate or what have you. I've heard that it's really beautifully written, and I'm very eager to get to this. I also received Wrong Place by Michelle Davies, and this has two storylines essentially, and they somehow interlink. So one of them, this older woman is assaulted in her own home, and a second woman is attacked by her own husband, and he tries to kill himself afterwards, but he doesn't, he's not successful in doing that. And somehow these stories are interlinked, and we have DC Maggie Neville, who's the family liaison officer, who starts to investigate both of these cases simultaneously and starts to see these links. So sounds like a fun little thriller. So now we get into the books that I bought for myself. The first book that I picked up is Zadie Smith's Swing Time. I've heard mixed things about Swing Time, but I have never read Zadie Smith, and I feel like I really should. This follows two friends who are very young and both aspire to be dancers. They're both black girls, and one of them has real talent and the other one doesn't. And it follows their friendship, and eventually their lives kind of lead separate ways, essentially. And I think they come back together in adulthood. I have heard that Zadie Smith is a brilliant writer that I desperately need to read. I am surprised I haven't yet, so yeah, that's Swing Time. Next up, I picked up The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. Emma Donoghue wrote Room, and this is very different from Room. This follows a little Irish girl who won't eat, and people around her are wondering what's going on. Some people think that she's got some sort of health issue, and other people think that she is a saint of sorts. So we follow an English nurse who is trained by Florence Nightingale, and she's hired for 2 weeks to stay with this family and watch this girl and find out, is this all a hoax or not? And this is another book that I've heard is really beautifully written, so I haven't read Emma Donoghue in a while, so I'm very eager for this. The next book I picked up is a little thriller. It's called The People at Number 9 by Felicity Everett. And it's about this couple who move into this new house, and they see their neighbors and they're like, oh, they're way cooler than we are. They're glamorous. They've got lead this very glamorous life. And they're just nervous about it. But that couple invites them over for dinners, and they start to become close until that couple starts asking them to do things that will change their lives forever and have really horrible consequences. So yeah, that's The People at number 9. Another neighborly thriller is Behind Closed Doors. And this is by B.A. Paris. And this is about a couple named Jack and Grace, and they seem to have like the perfect life. They seem to be the perfect couple with the perfect life. However, the question is this the perfect marriage or is it all a lie? So Grace never picks up the phone. She's never able to like go for coffee with her girlfriends, and she has all of these things she's unable to do. And people start wondering, or the reader at least starts wondering, is Jack an abusive husband actually? So I've heard mixed reviews about this, but I thought I'd give it a whirl. I also picked up The Purchase by Linda Spalding. And this is about a Quaker man who is a firm abolitionist. And he somehow becomes the owner of a young slave boy named Onesimus? I don't know how to pronounce his name, sadly. And that purchase sets in motion a twisted chain of events that will lead to tragedy and murder, as well as family's hidden and divisive relationship with a runaway slave named Bet. That sounds really interesting to me. So I picked that one up too. I also picked up Homegoing. I loved Homegoing. I knew that I needed Homegoing on my shelves because I loved it so much. This is by Ya Gyasi, and this follows so many characters. It starts with two sisters. One of them is sold into slavery and shipped to America. The other is married into a relationship with a slave owner and a slave trader, I should say. And these two women don't really know of each other. But it follows them and then their subsequent generations. So we follow a line in America and we follow another line in Africa, and I fell in love with this book. It's gripping and you fall in love with all of the characters. Even though you switch characters, you know, every chapter, I was just totally in hook, line, and sinker. The last two are Joe Nesbo books, or Yo Nesbo books, I don't know. The first is The Redbreast. This follows Harry on his first case, I believe. He's a detective, and a former World War II Nazi sympathizer is found with his throat cut, and then his former partner is murdered. Why had she been trying to reach Harry on the night that she was killed? So that is what you're diving into in The Redbreast. And then I picked up Nemesis, which is the second in the series. We follow two deaths and two cases. A man is caught on CCTV shooting dead a cashier at a bank. And Detective Harry Hole starts to investigate. But after dinner with an old flame, wakes up with no memory of the past for 12 hours. Then the girl is found dead in mysterious circumstances, and he begins to receive threatening emails. Is someone trying to frame him for her death? It sounds really good. So those are all of the books that I picked up in November, the second half of November. There were a lot. I'm going to try and slow it down for December. I've got plenty on my shelves. Although I am asking for a few books, so we shall see. But I hope that this finds you well. Let me know what book you picked up in November that you're really excited to read, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!